Okay. Hello and welcome to Moms of Flavortown.
Pew, 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 pew.
I am Rachel,
I am Debbie.
and today we have the luck of the Irish.
Oh, so this is I was gonna do a really bad Irish accent. I'm sorry to Ireland. But it was so Charlie is like obsessed now, like because his teacher set up a thing where like there was like little footprints from the
Oh,
leprechaun that came. So just now. Right before I signed on, he went to the bathroom, took a poop, and he was like, "My poop looked like an L for
oh,
leprechaun."
oh my God. Charlie TMI.
But like everything is leprechaun since he got home from school. It's so funny.
Very cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made corned beef and cabbage today, so that was
Nice.
exciting. Yeah.
Nice.
So, just a little bit of a status update for all of you people listening right now. This is the TOC recap, and then we are going to record directly after this and released at the exact same time when you're listening to this a Top Chef recap too. So, things are going to get a little crazy around here right now for me and Debbie.
Yeah, we just we want those who do not want to engage in Top Chef stuff to have the opportunity to opt out.
Yeah,
The
or
problematic
probably.
Canadian Top
Oh,
Chef.
yeah, exactly. If you are sick of hearing about Tom Colicchio, then you don't have to listen to that episode. Uh,
Whatever.
yeah, but so this is going to be the TOC episode. But yeah, so we're going to do it quick. And for the next few weeks, when me and Debbie are very busy, we are going to be doing these two episodes and two mini episodes. So welcome to our first ever Top Chef mini episode. Yay. Oh, sorry,
Woo!
not Top
Pew.
Chef, TOC mini episode.
Oh, we're doing TOC first.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
See, we're working out the kinks. I just figured because we're so in the TOC groove.
True.
Um, and I want to do some very quick Flavortown news.
Hmm.
Um, before we start TOC. So first of all, there was an article in People where one of the things they were asking Guy about was like Hunter Fieri. Like, why do you do Hunter on
Oh
these
God.
shows? And
Uh-huh.
Guy says that his sons are his best friends.
Aw.
So yeah, so the guy is just like, I'm not gonna say that they're good at their jobs, but they are my best friends. So at least that's nice. Good for you.
I've definitely
Uh,
used that when I've been negotiating with Charlie before.
that he's your best friend.
Well, yeah, he was so there was one time where he was like, if you don't let me watch TV right now, you're not going to be my best friend. I was like, you're going to be my best friend for the rest of your life, kiddo. So, and
Whether
he
you
was,
like it or not.
yeah, whether you like it or not. And then he was like, it kind of blew his mind a little bit. And like, he didn't ask for
Oh,
TV again. So,
very sweet. So totally Jedi mind tricked him.
yeah.
Which he knows about now, apparently, because he said he saw Star Wars for the first time.
Yeah, he did.
Well, very cool.
Yeah.
And then the other piece of Flavortown news, which I didn't really look into, I just saw it on Instagram, but LeeAnne Wong got married.
Woo! Mazel.
Yeah, it looked beautiful on Instagram, and I'll post links here. So we are going to talk more about LeeAnne today because we're about to do this TOC 6 episode 3 recap. And just off the bat, I gotta say, bracket busted yet again.
Bracket busted. Kind of heartbreaking
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
there was good stuff. I mean, there was a lot of battles where I'm like, oh, like I love them both, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then there was also battles where I knew there was the first battle. I said Debbie's gonna be so pissed about this,
Yep.
but I can't say that I was surprised.
Yeah.
But let's get to it. We'll
Yeah.
talk about all of the heartbreak, etc. I have my computer up on this little stand and I'm trying to type and have my microphone and it's not working. Okay. So, TOC 6 episode 3, the recap. So, we have four battles which they set up for us in this episode.
Mhm.
Joe Sasso versus Fabio Viviani,
Ugh.
Chris Scott, friend of the pod,
Mhm.
versus LeeAnne Wong, Karen Akunowitz versus Jonathan Sawyer,
Mhm.
and Jet Vila versus Piet de Spain.
Mhm.
So we still have not seen, I still can't believe all the people that are left for this last episode that's going to be
Yeah.
next week. There's like some serious heavy hitters: Sarah Bradley, Carlos Anthony, Tobias Jorzen, like a lot of people that we've been looking forward to are in
Yeah.
this next episode still. But this was a great one. Everyone walks in looking great.
Mhm.
Karen Akunowitz has a zebra print jumpsuit on, obsessed.
Yeah, she looks great. Like I, she just like she's probably out of that mom zapped like
Yes.
energy brain moment, She looked like refreshed and ready to go.
I had that same thought. So
Yeah.
her kid would be, I guess, like two now, right?
Yeah.
Because it was 2 years ago that she came out and she was like, like 8 weeks postpartum or whatever.
Yeah.
But I had the same thought. I'm like, oh, like she like does not look postpartum anymore. She
Yeah.
looks like a human. Um,
Right.
not that no offense to postpartum moms, but we've all been there, right? Where you
Yeah.
just feel like, what is going on? And yeah, I love her. I had her going pretty far in my bracket. This was devastating for me to watch.
Hmm.
But also, there's good people on all sides, let's say.
Yeah.
So Guy says Division C means celebrated,
Hmm.
which I didn't do anything for A and B, so come on.
Yeah.
And they go over last week's winners and the prizes, and Jet says he can smell the money. And how are you feeling about Jet this year, Debbie?
Um, it's like I like him more since we started the podcast. I'll say
Okay.
that. I appreciate him. He's always seemed like a nice guy, but like
Yeah.
I I appreciate him in the competition. Do I want to see him win? Not really.
I know, and I feel bad about that
Yeah.
because I like when I pick like who are the top people I would want to win. Still at this point, I still don't have Jet up there.
No.
And I feel bad because obviously, as we'll see, he wants it real bad.
Yeah.
But it's just like, as my husband Spencer's always saying, he's done enough. Like
Exactly.
he doesn't need
Won
it
the
for his
Guinness Book of
career.
World Records for the
Biggest fried
largest
rice.
fried rice.
That's always your the way you needle him. Always
That's
Debbie's
his
Jet diss.
biggest accolade. That's like the one he leads with.
I do think he's like a nice guy,
Yeah, he
and
seems like a nice guy.
he's not like a bad guy.
No, 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 no.
Because first up, we have Joe Sasto and Fabio Viviani.
Oh
And I know how you
God.
feel about Joe Sasto,
I I just hate him. I
but so
hate.
many people that we like are friends with him. So, like, I wonder the thing that we were saying when we were watching this episode, me and Spencer, is that, like, well, Spencer was saying this, but I think it's a good point, is he says he feels sad for Joe that his mustache is the most important thing about him. Because, like, like I get if you had that, whatever, 10 years ago when he was on Top Chef, but like why do you still have to rely on that for everything? This
Right,
mustache.
right.
That's what's kind of weird about it, right?
I think, especially, he probably was one of the early adopters of the mustache.
Mm-hmm.
And because of like like the rolling the tip of the
The
mustache.
wax, yeah.
Yeah, like I could see him like pulling an Italian kind of like joking
Mm-hmm.
around about that, Italian chef. Um, but yeah, it's like I don't know.
Yeah, just get a new bit already, okay?
Yeah,
'Cause, like, I bet his food tastes good. I mean, I don't doubt that. But and then Fabio has not only is he a silver fox, but he's got a great silver beard.
yeah.
And
Ugh,
I love Fabio, but Fabio
yeah.
was saying like he has like not been in cooking competitions. He kind of just like showed up and is like, let's give this a try.
You're right. I will say his play. I don't agree. He made two dishes, and I don't. Wait, do you still hear
No,
me?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, sorry. He made two dishes, which is like not smart, but like two very different dishes. But he did use all the randomizer things multiple times, which is usually like not a first timers
I know,
thing.
but no one ever likes a duo. That's the thing. We
Yeah.
see it on Top Chef. We see it on the show. A duo is always a bad idea, and
Hmm.
that also happened to our friend Chris Scott later.
I will
Um,
say though, Chris Scott's duo actually made sense to me, you
it made
know?
more sense than this, but it was still two dishes. It still
Yeah.
was not like they still like looked at it like two different things.
Yeah.
You can't eat everything together.
Right.
Anyway, so Fabio says he wants to remind the youngster who's in charge. Oh, and this was reminding me, they said Fabio has like 50 restaurants or something. I ate Fabio's food once. It was
Oh,
at, they have like a Fabio restaurant at the Jones Beach music venue. You
really?
could get like, I don't remember what I got. You can get like, like a chicken parm sandwich or
Oh
something
my
from like a little Fabio
gosh.
stand. It's like has his picture on it. Like, of course I had to go there if you see
I
that,
have to I have to go check it out. The last time I was at Jones Beach Theater was for 311 in 2002, I think.
Oh my God. I was there. This was like it was pre-COVID, but I think it was like maybe 2019 because it
Nice.
was not yeah, and it was we saw the Pixies open for Weezer,
Oh,
and I may
excellent.
have talked about this before on the pod, but it was very depressing because it really like Weezer. I understand that they're like corny now or whatever, but I have like, as women of our age do, I have like these like Pinkerton feelings and stuff,
Of course.
yeah, that like, Blue Album, Pinkerton like mean all this to me. I like still listen to them.
Yeah.
And I even like some of their later songs to not be
Yeah.
too much, like Go
Green is
Fishing.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're
the Green Album, but I'm talking about like later. I'm talking like,
oh.
like four albums past that or whatever. I think like
Wow.
there's some good songs on it.
Uh-huh.
But then so at the Pixies show, the Pixies, first of all, were totally pissed because it was not obviously it was like the crowd was like all like bros there to see Weezer. The Pixies
Right.
were pissed. And then Weezer was like so terrible to me. Like they really seemed like it
Oh.
was like Weezer the musical. Like the bros loved it, but they were just like there was like sets flying in and out, all these
Mhm.
costume changes in a way that like it felt very like it felt like they were like putting on a show. And also
Yeah.
it was during the I didn't know this, but it was when there's that whole Weezer Africa thing going on, Africa by
Oh
Toto.
yeah. Uh-huh.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
And then like halfway through the set, Weezer's like, "Do you know where we're going next?" And I'm like, "What?" And then they're like, "We're obviously going to Africa."
Yeah.
And they started playing Africa and I was like, "Why is this a thing?" And
Yeah.
everyone's flipping it. It was very weird. Anyway, so I became a hater that day.
Funny enough, though, Weezer at Jones Beach was my first show without adults.
Wow. So, but you must have been how old?
I was 13
Wow. So that would have been
or
awesome.
12, 12. It was, I mean, still to this day, like one of the greatest
Yeah.
shows I've ever been to. It was Luna Chicks, Weezer, and No Doubt was the headliner
Oh, so
doing
Weezer wasn't
Tragic
even
Kingdom.
headlining yet. That sounds
Yeah.
amazing. That
And it
sounds
was
so
in between
cool.
Blue and Pinkerton. It was
Wow.
awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm jealous of that. This is the only time I've seen Weezer and I was very bummed. Anyway, back to the show. We got to get through. We got to do two different recaps. Okay. Okay, so Fabio has no nickname and he's saying today is him against himself. Joe's just in the way. And of course, it's Mustache Joe for Joe Sasto.
Mhm.
And Joe jokes that he would hate to see Romanesco because, he's Italian, so he loves it.
Yeah.
And Guy sets up this thing about how he hates hard-boiled eggs,
Yeah.
which was very confusing to me because do you like hard-boiled eggs?
I love them. They're like,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, you deviled eggs are great.
I
Egg
love any
salad is
egg.
great. Yeah.
You give
I
me
just
any egg.
I was shocked that Guy was acting like they were disgusting because
Right.
like I think that like it's Sheena's favorite food right now.
Yeah.
She requests it. I did not get it.
I
And
think
also,
everybody has like their one thing. It's the Scott Conant raw
yeah,
onions of
but
the,
that's more reasonable than
yeah.
in my opinion. Okay, so the randomizer is shrimp, okra, crinkle cutter, glazed, and hard boiled eggs. So they
Hmm.
don't get the Romanesco, but they do get the hard boiled eggs.
Hmm.
And Guy makes a joke that hard boiled eggs are illegal. Joe is doing shrimp and grits. He says he has never made it past round two. And Tiffany, I noticed, is wearing a button down and a tie. To me, she looked a lot better this week than last
Yes,
week.
I agree. I agree. She looked good. And she seemed to be a little more comfortable in this episode.
Yes, I agree. She's settling in. It's
Hmm.
like she looks good. She sounds better. So
Yeah.
I'm happier now. Fabio cuts up his shrimp with the crinkle cutter, and Justin says he feels like he's watching Naked and Afraid. That's like the thing that is like so primitive to Justin is they're like cutting with like a weird tool.
Yeah.
In yeah, with because everyone on Naked and Afraid has all their raw shrimp that they're cutting up.
Right.
Fabio is doing shrimp ceviche with baked shrimp, a duo, which Justin immediately is like, I don't know, that's a good idea.
Yep.
Um, and I do, like we said, I think that on Top Chef, it's one of those things that always fails when you do a
Hmm.
duo.
Yeah, totally.
So Fabio should remember that from his Top Chef days.
Well,
And you,
it's Top Chef, not Top Chef.
well, I was gonna say it's Top Chef, not Top Shrimp, or like
Ah,
it's
yeah.
Tournament of Champions, not Tournament of Shrimp. Fabio. That's what people should say to him. Okay, so Fabio is making an okra mayonnaise, which to me sounds great. That's very
Mhm.
smart.
Yeah.
Joe is doing a brown butter egg yolk cream.
Also sounds
Um,
great.
yeah, I mean, I think that this randomizer sounded really good
Yeah.
because like who doesn't like shrimp? Who doesn't like I mean, a lot of people don't like okra, but I think it goes with shrimp. Who doesn't
Mhm.
like eggs? Guy, but I thought it sounded good.
Yeah.
Both chefs are cutting everything with the crinkle cutters. Fabio is glazing okra with saba, which I didn't know about that. Did you know about that?
Oh yeah, I love Saba.
So can you just like buy it at the store? Or do you have to get it at, like an Italian specialty store?
I mean, I don't think they have it at like a Town or whatever, but you could probably find it at Whole Foods, you
Okay,
know?
cool. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a vinegary sauce almost.
Yeah, so it's basically it's like the solids from making wine turned into vinegar.
Okay, awesome. Well,
Yeah.
sounds great. I would love
Yeah.
to try it. For the judges are Susan Feniger, Mary Sue Milliken, Manit. Uh, oh yeah, I was like, isn't there four? No, there's just three. Tiffany reads for Joe. Manit says that he played both the randomizer. Mary Sue says she's a huge fan of the okra. Manit says it's great shrimp and the egg whites fight in the polenta.
Hmm.
Susan says she loves the pickled okra, but the shrimp is too sweet.
Hmm.
Then Justin reached for Fabio. Manit likes the crudo, but it has enough acid. She says the mayo is genius. Mary Sue loves the crispy okra. Good use of the crinkle cutter. Manit says there are yummy dishes, but she has to compare the two, which is what Justin was worried about. And then the score is at 76 to 81. Joe Sasso wins. And I wrote on my notes, sorry, Debbie.
It was just sad to see Fabio
I
win, you
know.
know.
Well, I mean, maybe next year he'll come back and he'll do better because I think that he just needs to like get back in the cooking
Yeah.
competitions.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a lot of practice right now.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
so
Joe
then
Sasso's gonna get cut in next round anyway.
Well, Hunter Fieri says to Joe backstage, "Who's the Italian master now?" Calm down, Hunter.
Yeah. Whoa, bud.
I know. I mean, your dad's right out there who probably was saying
Yeah.
he's the Italian master. So next up is Chris Scott versus LeeAnne Wong. And this was like, choosing between two sides of my heart,
Right.
this one.
Exactly.
So I was kind of rooting for Chris Scott just because he has not made it past round one.
And I
Um,
also because he's our friend.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
exactly. See,
Yeah.
I want to be friends with LeeAnne, but
Yes.
Chris Scott, I also like really wanted to see him. So it was hard to choose. And even like on Instagram, LeeAnne and Chris were posting so much about how much they love each other and
Hmm.
like they've been friends for a long time. And it just
Yeah.
seems like there's like a lot of mutual respect there, which I'd like
Totally.
to see.
Yeah.
Chris Scott is Dr. Chocolate.
Yeah.
And now that we know that the chefs give their own nicknames, if Guy calls on that, I would be like, that is racist.
Right. Exactly.
But knowing that Chris said that to Guy, call me Dr. Chocolate, that's like a power move.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. But
Uh,
also going back to Joe Sasto, the oh, God. All right. Whatever. Anyway.
Mustache Joe, I know. And LeeAnne Wong is Mama Wong, as we know.
Mhm.
And so yeah, we got Dr. Chocolate versus Mama Wong. LeeAnne calls the randomizer Randa.
Mhm.
And I was remembering how last year LeeAnne beat Adam Sobel,
Yeah.
and so like she's good at this game, like
Mm-hmm.
she knows what to do. The randomizer is lamb loin chops, Romanesco, halogen oven, colorful, and orange marmalade.
Hmm.
And again, I would order that on a menu if I saw
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
I love colorful food. I think it is very
Yeah,
exciting when a plate is
yeah,
colorful. As they say, you eat with your eyes.
exactly.
So when Justin is with Chris Scott and Justin welcomes Chris Scott to the dance floor, and that's what they always say about March Madness. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, it's the big dance, so it's
yeah,
the dance floor. And Chris says he's going to go Latin for colorful, which is a good
hmm,
idea.
totally.
He's doing two tostadas, one raw, one charred. And Justin again worries about a duo, but Justin even says, like you were saying, that like those are not as disconnected as the other ones were.
Yeah.
And Chris is charring vegetables for his salsa in the halogen oven.
Hmm.
LeeAnne is doing Romanesco puree with the lamb loin chops. And Guy makes a really dumb, sorry, Guy, Silence of the Lamb chops
Oh,
joke.
yeah.
And that's one
Even
of
the
those
audience was just like,
well, it's one of those things you see on reality TV where it's like, okay, so like we're whatever, we are, 30 or 40 years old. And then Guy is like, how old is Guy? He's got to be 50 or whatever.
yeah.
And I feel like that people like forget that their references are dated because Silence of the Lambs is so old right now.
Yeah.
It's like not
It's
a
at least
current.
30 years old.
I know. I remember when it won the Oscar for Best
Hmm.
Picture, and my parents being like, "It's too scary. You cannot see it." So that was like a four anyway. So it's but okay. Anyway, so it's Silence of the Lamb Chops.
Hmm.
Chris Scott's tostadas do look very colorful, and
Yeah,
I would love to order that on the menu. Like if they're
totally.
like one raw, one charred lamb
Hmm.
tostada. But as the judges say, since he did two dishes, he was not able to put as much. He wasn't able to like taste everything as much on both, and that
Yeah.
was. It's not that the duo is bad. It's just that it's hard to execute two things both perfectly.
Yeah, for a competition specifically, you know.
And LeeAnne is plating crazily at the last second. So I thought
Hmm.
that that might give Chris the edge, but she
Right.
edged him out. And I have to say, LeeAnne's like colorful salad looked so cool.
Yeah, it looks
It
really cool.
really, yeah, it really looked like Willy Wonka or
Yeah.
something, with all like the candy striped beets and everything.
Hmm.
So Justin reads for Chris. Mary Sue appreciates the orange marmalade. The lamb is cooked perfectly, but it needs more salt in the tartare. Susan loves the sweet and salty balance. Monique says the Romanesco is delicious, but she doesn't
Could you,
think that they're what?
I was gonna say, could you imagine like serving tostadas to those two?
I know. And one thing about those two is that they're always together,
I
which
love them.
is, I know, it's cute, right? That it's like at this point
Yeah.
in their career and they still like, why don't you guys both come down? They were on the same season of
Yeah.
Top Chef Masters and they're very likable.
I've been to one of their restaurants in it was like west side of LA and it was really good.
Awesome. Is it
Yeah.
expensive?
I don't remember the client paid for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I like it doesn't seem like it's like super, super high fine dining. Like it's not
No,
tweezery, right? No,
it
it's just like
felt
nice Mexican.
accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I love. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Um, Tiffany reads for LeeAnne. Susan loves salad on top of a protein and loves the plate. Minnie
Hmm.
says the lamb is delicious, but it needed more use of the halogen oven. And Susan says it's a little over the place, but the lamb is perfectly cooked. And 80 to 85, LeeAnne wins. So our
And
buddy Chris, sorry,
did you see that he was crying?
I did not see he was crying.
Yeah, like not crying, crying, but like, you could see the
Yeah,
tears in his eyes. Oh, I felt so bad.
I know. Well, he got 80, which is a very respectable score,
Yeah,
and
totally.
everyone knows he's a great cook. So
Yeah.
it's like certain people, they don't get past the first round, but then eventually they do. Like someone we'll talk about next.
Right.
Next is Jonathan Sawyer, the bearded baller, versus
Hmm.
Karen Akunowitz, the fox. And I am finding Jonathan Sawyer more likable this season.
1,000%.
Yeah, now that he is, sober and like more mature, etc.,
Hmm.
like taking care of himself, you can tell. And it
Yeah.
does seem like Like he's one of those people that like before you could always like tell he was a good chef, but you never really rooted for him because he was
Hmm.
like obviously like not in a good place before.
Right.
And usually I would root against him. Of course, I preferred Karen to win.
Hmm.
Hashtag no white men.
Yeah.
Uh, but I was not as upset as I would have been in previous years if
Right.
he beat her.
Right.
And he did the qualifiers, which I do think the qualifiers help people because they get practice.
Right.
So let's go through it.
Hmm.
Beef chuck, beets, box grater, spiced, and butter crackers from the randomizer.
Yeah.
Um, and those butter crackers end up maybe being Karen's downfall.
Yep.
Jonathan is doing gnocchi with a beef and beet ragu
That
using
sounded
Berber
so
spice.
good.
Both the dishes sounded so good, though I
Yeah.
think Karen's I would have ordered more probably.
Hmm.
At least last night was the
Yeah.
was
I always anything with rose as a flavoring is like always my go-to. And I
I thought
actually when she was like or when she was talking about the rose harissa, I actually ordered a bunch of it
I
right
thought about
after.
you instantly. I was like, I know Debbie loves that.
Yep.
So Jonathan is using the box grater to grate celery and leeks into his sauce, which is a great idea.
Hmm.
I made a tomato sauce over the weekend and I put celery in it, and grating it would have been awesome. That's a
Yeah,
great
that's so
idea.
smart.
Justin makes his hustling and grinding joke again, the same joke he made before. Justin, we see you. When
Yeah.
Karen is grinding her beef with Raz Al Hanout. And Karen is doing kefta. And like, I love a kefta.
Me too.
Hunter is asking LeeAnne in the waiter lounge about, Hunter is asking LeeAnne what the chefs are doing. He's like, what are they doing with that? And LeeAnne's explaining it to Hunter. And it's like, is that your job, Hunter, for LeeAnne to tell you about it? He wasn't like, oh, who are you scared of or whatever.
Right.
Uh, but LeeAnne's very nice to him. Karen juices red beets and fries some beets too. And Karen uses wild rose harissa, which has rose petals in it, which I did not know existed. And
I
as
didn't know
we
it
know,
existed. I ordered it
Debbie
right
ordered
away.
it
Yeah.
and makes a labna. And Jonathan Sawyer has like talked a lot this round about his sobriety, about how he's 28 months sober. And as someone who is how old I'm about to be 9 years sober soon.
Nice.
I totally like relate to him a lot and
Hmm.
like in like when you are like so he's like a little over 2 years sober
Hmm.
and there's like kind of like a joke people make that I make too, and I don't want to offend anybody, but it's like nobody knows more about sobriety than someone who's 2 years sober. It's like because like, and I was that way too, like
Yeah.
everyone's like this, but like because like at 2 years sober it's like you have your life back together, and you like really like you're not like in like the new part where you're like learning still. So
Right.
you feel like you like know everything.
Yeah.
And like it can be good because you're like trying to help other people get sober, etc. It's like not a bad thing, but
Right.
you definitely get to this point of like kind of being a know-it-all and like
Yeah.
thinking like the secret to life at that point.
Right.
And then as you're sober longer, you get knocked down a few pegs.
Yeah.
But it's great for TOC.
Yep.
He's like, I'm strong. I can do anything. He's probably like, I got God on my side. Me winning TOC is God's will. That's my guess for what Jonathan Sawyer is saying privately. So judging, Tiffany roots for Jonathan. Manit loves the presentation. Susan thinks the chuck is a little chewy, but she likes how it was done. She shows Guy the inside of the gnocchi. Like, isn't that
Hmm.
beautiful? Which I thought was very cute.
Yeah.
She like wanted Guy to see.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I got to see because I would never have known it looked so nice
Yeah.
inside.
It looked gorgeous.
And Manit needs it to be spiced a little less.
Which is wild.
I know, exactly. The Spice Queen herself.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's the thing about like the randomizer, right? Is they say spiced. So like it's easy, it's hard to not go a little overboard, I feel like
Right.
probably. Because then Manit would say, oh, it's good, but is it spiced?
Yeah.
So Justin reads for Karen. Susan says a great use of the beef and loves the color. Mary Sue says it's conceptually perfect, wonderful labna, but it's too salty. And Manise says it's beautifully spiced, but it's too salty. And earlier in the battle, Justin was noticing that like the Ras Al Hanout might have already had salt in it,
Yeah.
and then she probably salted as much as she normally would if she wasn't using that.
Yeah. And
Um,
also the crackers too.
Yeah, have salt. Yeah, Ritz are
Yeah.
salty. So yeah, so 79 to 82, still very close.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan wins. So yeah, so again, like Chris Scott got 80, like that's higher. Like he if he was against Karen this round, he would have won, So
Yeah.
it's,
These
it's
scores have been a lot higher than they were in previous years, I feel like.
yeah.
Carly Sue, we gotta figure out like
Yes. Yeah,
averages.
give us the averages, Carly.
Yeah.
We'll have Carly back for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so next is the final battle, Piet de Spain versus Jetila. And okay, so Piet impressed me because after the qualifiers, she did so bad. And I was like, oh, who's gonna win between Piet and Jet? I wonder who's gonna win.
Yeah.
But she did really good, I think.
Yeah.
And her score was higher than a lot of other scores this
Yeah.
round. So she did good. Uh Jet says that he's Sisyphus because he keeps like getting to the quarterfinals and not winning. Um,
Yeah.
but I think that's funny because like Sisyphus is so hot right now in memes and everything.
Yeah. Well, we
Jet's
all
on.
understand the burden of trying to get up
Yes.
that hill.
Well, I was thinking about that, how like you don't hear about a lot of other mythology in your daily life like you hear about Sisyphus. Like that
Right.
really has stuck with like millennials and Gen Z.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so Piet says she's going to win, but I'm like, yeah, right. And I do feel bad for going up against. I mean, there's could always be an upset, but like
Yeah.
this one, I was not worried about an
No.
upset.
I mean, I was kind of like maybe she'll kind of pull it out. I actually her dish sounded better, more
Yeah,
my thing than his did.
yeah. But I just think that Jet has just so much more experience.
Yeah.
Piet has no nickname. Guy says she's proud of her heritage, and she says Native Americans are underrepresented across the board. And that is true,
Hmm.
obviously. And we've talked about this on several cooking shows we've recapped where they do like a Native American challenge or whatever. And
Yeah.
like the venison is perfect for that,
Right.
obviously, which she says she's gone hunting for venison.
Hmm.
So it's Piet versus the Jetster. The randomizer says venison rack, oyster mushrooms, juicer, loaded, and crystallized ginger.
Hmm.
Um, Immediately sounds great to me. I cook with
Yeah.
oyster mushrooms a lot.
Same.
Um, and also crystallized ginger, like venison, like Piet has a lot of experience with, and then crystallized
Mhm.
ginger is like totally Jet, right?
Right.
Yeah, obviously he probably just used that anyway.
Yeah.
And Jet says just doing an oyster mushroom loaded venison chop with a red curry base.
Hmm.
Piet has hunted venison before, and she's doing a mushroom loaded venison chop with Wohapi barbecue sauce,
Hmm.
which sounded great. It had
Yeah.
blackberries in it, really sounded good. Um, so everyone is cheering for Jet, and Tiffany makes them also cheer for Piet.
Aw.
I know, and it's like I did not. I was impressed with Piet. She did a good job.
Yeah.
And Jet does a Chinese loaded noodle on the plate filled with oyster mushrooms, which I did not know about this. It was like a spring roll wrapper with a mushroom inside, and he says a loaded noodle. Have you had that before?
No, but it sounded awesome.
Yeah. And Piet does a fried oyster mushroom on top.
Hmm.
Both the dishes look awesome. I would eat both of them.
Yeah.
For judging, Jet says he knows Susan and Mary Sue since he was a child because they shopped at his parents' grocery store. And that is
Oh my
cute.
God. That's really sweet.
That's one of those things where it's like, oh, who knew this little child at the store would be a celebrity chef one day?
Yeah.
It's
Oh.
very cute. So Justin reads for Jet. Manit says, this is what TOC is all about. Venison is cooked perfectly. Susan picks up the chop to eat more.
Hmm.
And she says it's a gorgeous flavor, but the chop is overcooked. But she says she didn't even care because it was very well
Hmm.
executed. And Mary Sue loves the perfume of ginger and the loadedness that's very craveable.
Hmm.
Then Tiffany reads for Piet. Susan says the chop is perfectly cooked and absolutely delicious. Manit loved the deep fried oyster mushroom, but the stuffing didn't have enough fat. And Mary Sue said not enough ginger.
Hmm.
So it's 84 to 91. And 91 is the highest score of TOC so far, and Jet wins. But 84 would have won a lot of the other battles. So Piet
Yeah,
did a really
absolutely.
good job.
Hmm.
And in the Wayfair Lounge, Joe Sasso freaks out because he's got to face Jet next.
Hmm.
So good luck, Debbie, on that.
Yeah. I mean, Jet's gonna just knock him out. It's fine.
So next week, we get Sarah Bradley, Tobias Dorsen, Carlos Anthony, and Nini, and some other people. But like those four are like four of our big faves, you know?
Yeah.
And we need to have Tobias. We've interviewed Sarah and Carlos. We need to have Tobias and Nini on the
Yeah,
pod for sure.
for sure.
Okay, so I will post our brackets like tomorrow or something to
Mhm.
show how busted they are. But we still have our final two in
Uh-huh.
for now. So
Exactly.
okay, so everyone, please, if you are not going to stick around for the Top Chef recap, please rate, review, and subscribe. We will tell you what we had for dinner after that recap. So if you want to know what we had for dinner, listen to that. But for now, it's time for us to pack our
Pack our knives
knives
and
and
go.
go. Okay. Whew.
That was good. We
Okay.
did pretty good.
Yeah, we did pretty good. And then we will come in with the next one. And I mean, we can try to do this like not too. Oh my God, I have so many notes. We'll try to do it not too long because it's
Yeah.
like, it's hard to keep track of everything. Okay. You ready?
Yeah, let's do
Leaf, we're going to start the new one now.
it.
Hello and welcome to Moms of
Pew,
Flavortown.
pew, 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 pew.
I am Rachel,
I am Debbie.
and here we are in Canada, land of the North.
Wait.
Oh, Canada. I don't know how the song goes at all.
Do, 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 do. That's all I know.
Everything I know about Canada is from, and sorry, I don't support them anymore, but it's from Terrence and Phillip from South Park, is everything I know about Canada.
See, my reference is Kids in the Hall.
Oh, of course. I
You
know that
know,
Kids in the Hall. Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
yeah.
Okay, so this is our Top Chef recap. We are back for episode 1 of Top Chef Destination Canada.
Hmm.
And we just did a whole recap of TOC a few minutes ago. You can listen to that also on our feed if you're interested in hearing what's happening over on Food Network. But now we're in Bravo Land, Debbie's favorite.
Oh, my universe.
Yeah, Debbie knows more about the housewives than me. I only know about the traders, which is not even Bravo, but it kind of is.
Yes.
So yeah, so we're back for Top Chef. Debbie, you said you had some interesting thoughts about this episode.
Um, well, we can get into it. Well, actually, one of the big thoughts that I have has to do with the ending. So we'll get
Okay.
get to that
Okay.
then.
But
Yeah.
just beware, everybody, as we go along, Debbie will have thoughts about
I
things.
have thoughts.
I mean, I'm glad to be back at Top Chef.
Me too.
Uh, I think it's like the first episode's always kind of boring because you don't know everybody. It's like even when
Mhm.
exciting things happen, it's like you can't even keep track because there's so many people, and it's
Mhm.
like just trying to like watch what everyone's doing is very hard.
Mhm.
But I'm happy to get to know them.
Yeah.
And there seems like there's a lot of cool people.
Mhm.
So like it starts out with like people getting introduced. There's someone from Brooklyn, New York, Corwin Hemming. There's someone
Mhm.
from Portland, Maine, Mimi Weisborn.
Mhm.
And I looked up Mimi's restaurants, and I've definitely been to one of them. There's one in Yarmouth that I've definitely been to. It's
Oh,
just
wow.
like accessible off the highway, and I went there once.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's I mean totally standard American food, but it was good. It's called Gather.
Mhm.
And everyone like lists their accolades, you know, James Beard, Michelin star, etc. Uh we have Zubair, or how do you say it? Zubair? Zubair? Um
Um, you know what? I don't remember the pronunciation, but we want to shout out to him, and I am feeling like a dick that I don't know how to pronounce his name. But my friend Mariam is very good friends with him, and so it's very exciting to cheer on someone that's like kind of related.
yeah, and he's very likable. He
Yeah.
gives a Talladega Nights quote.
Yeah.
There's a chef who has a shrimp neck pillow, very cute in the airport. And
Yeah,
these are
that
like
was
all
really
like,
cute.
yeah, I could imagine you wearing that specifically, Debbie.
I actually said to John, I was like, "Oh, yeah, I like that. That's cute."
Yeah, I definitely can see that. Lana, I know her from Pressure Cooker, which was I don't remember if it was Netflix or Hulu. It was one of
Uh-huh.
them. I think Netflix. And it was like a cooking competition that was also like a social game. So you had to like
Hmm.
have alliances. And Lana was on that. She did very well. And she
She's
wants to,
Oh,
sorry?
sorry. What were we gonna say?
I said, she says she wants to be the first black woman to win Top Chef. And I can't believe there's never been a black woman to win Top Chef. That
I know.
is a disgrace.
It's crazy. And also, Lana is actually doing a pop-up at Gage and Tollner soon.
Oh, awesome. We
Yeah.
should go.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, so I watched her on another show already. I remember that she was like in an alliance with the person who won, and she made
Hmm.
it really far. And I do think she's talented. We'll see how she doesn't. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
everyone is talented on the show, but we'll see how she does in Top Chef. They pull knives as soon as they land to choose which car they get into. And everyone instantly is like, "Oh, this must be a team challenge."
Hmm.
Uh, Kristen does the opening. We get, our Top Chef credits.
Hmm.
And this year, there's new sponsors. I mean, some are the same, Food and Wine Magazine, Aspen, Food and Wine Festival, etc. But there's also a lot about Delta Sky Miles. That's the new thing this year.
And also, was State Farm last year too?
Oh, you know what? I don't remember, but isn't State Farm also doing TOC? So there's all kinds of stuff going on.
I want to say though, like being an insurance agency and like putting yourself out there in 2025 is a bold choice. When
I
people
mean,
are like, obviously like losing their homes because of
yeah,
insurance and somebody gets goned,
yeah.
because of it, and you're spending money on a Top Chef prize,
I
like
know they're trying to boost their image, but yeah,
that's not how to do it.
we're dealing with our home insurance right now, and it totally sucks. It's like my husband's dealing with most of it, and he's like pulling his hair out because, of course, they don't want to give us shit.
Of
Uh,
course.
that's their job, right? To deny everything that ever
Mhm.
happens. Anyway, um, so the Top Chef kitchen has a huge maple leaf on the door. It's like this shelf with all this like syrup on it.
Mhm.
So everyone's really aware they're in Canada.
Mhm.
Tom, Kristen, and Gail are there. Toronto is Gail's hometown, and they're all wearing various denim. They're all wearing Canadian tuxedos, but
Mhm.
like Kristen's, you can like barely tell. It's like they're not obviously denim, a lot of them, but they're
Yeah.
cute. They all look great. Uh, and Massimo is from Montreal,
Mhm.
and that is a loud guy, as we'll see throughout the episode.
Mhm.
Uh, Kristen runs through all the prizes. Everyone is freaking out. And Tom jokes that he wants to compete for the prizes. Yeah, sure, Tom. $250,000. I'm sure.
Yeah, that's like a night out for
I'm
him.
sure that means a lot to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of sponsors this year, and I feel like that they're going heavy on the product placement right off the bat, which they always do, but it's like a lot
Yeah.
right away. So for the first quick fire, they each have to grab one ingredient, and they only give them 30 seconds, which is good because I think otherwise the people that pulled knives together would realize they should pick things to go together. But I guess
Right.
they did the 30 seconds, so they couldn't do that. And then they have to stand next to the chefs they were there with, do a team challenge. Kristen explains Toronto is called the Six, which I have never heard in my life.
Yeah, me neither.
About six neighborhoods that make it up, and they need to make a team dish using six ingredients. So each of the three has their ingredient they chose, and then they have to do one from each judge. When
Mhm.
Kristen chose tomatoes, Gail chose chives, and Tom chose clams.
Mhm.
Um, so the purple team has corn, Fresno chili, and corn. And that was the thing. Like a lot of people chose corn.
Yeah.
The green team has bok choy, king oyster mushroom, and maple syrup. And like on that team, people were kind of pissed that that person chose maple syrup right away.
Yeah.
The blue team has cabbage, Fresno chilies, dried back olives. The yellow team has apple, fennel, and corn. The red team has apple, corn, and portobello mushrooms. Um, and yes, and yeah, I mean, so they cook the quick fire.
Yeah.
It's so hard to like say what to talk about at this point.
Right.
Um, there's some drama because Vinny, who I'm sure you'll want to have a lot to say about
Oh
Vinny
yeah, I
later.
find him so well. I, in the beginning, I found him so fucking annoying, but
Uh-huh.
I warmed up to him by the end of the episode.
I warmed up to him too. My problem with him is that he is such the stereotypical Top Chef winner
Yep.
that I don't want him to win.
Yeah.
And nothing against him. I do think he's likable. I liked his Italian brothers. Like, it was
Yeah.
Vincenzo and Gianno or whatever.
Yeah. And he's
Uh,
from Long Island, represent.
yes. I do like him,
Yeah.
but I just feel like that with like all like the he's very precise, that kind of chef. He's like,
Yeah.
has a little bit of a Buddha factor to him or whatever.
Yes. Yes,
Um,
exactly.
so that's the drama of the quick fire is Vinny wants to do a wow factor. He is with Lana and someone else, and he wants to do the wow factor using an apple bowl for their chowder and like put a smoke gun in.
Hmm.
And the girls are like, whatever. Like they don't want
Hmm.
to do it, but they go along with it. But then it turns out they actually like it.
Hmm.
The judges like it. So the the top teams were yellow, green, and red. Yellow did a pureed soup of fennel with apple and potato. Green did steamed clam with preserved king oyster mushroom. And red did corn and clam chowder in an apple. That
Hmm.
was the dish with Vinny. And the yellow team won, and they win $15,000.
Hmm.
The yellow team was Caesar, Katiana, and Mimi.
Hmm.
Mimi was the Portland chef. So yeah, so they win $15,000 right off the bat,
Hmm.
which awesome. And Mimi keeps talking about how she and her girlfriend broke up and she needs to buy new pans. And that's
Hmm.
her and Mimi is a bit much, right?
Yep. So I think I can. Well, all right. I think I can start my criticism
Okay,
here.
go ahead with your criticism.
Do you notice when Mimi's doing like the talkbacks, she's wearing that stupid fucking hat?
Yeah.
And all I could think of was stupid fucking hat guy from last season.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
also eliminated first.
yeah, like it
Yeah,
was just like very much like if you're gonna wear a stupid fucking hat, like
I
do
know.
better. Do better.
But she also, so I noticed later, and this is in Last Chance Kitchen. So sorry everybody for the spoilers, but like her knives said chef spelled SHEF,
Yeah.
like a she chef.
Uh-huh.
And then she also, and at first I was like, oh, is that like, I was like, maybe that's just the brand of her knives. And then I
Right.
saw she had a tattoo that said the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's very like, and, I'm all for empowerment of women, but
Hmm.
do we really need a she chef right
We do not.
So yeah, so Mimi, I felt bad for her. I'm sure she's a great chef. I've been to her restaurant Gather in Yarmouth, but it's just, it was a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so the elimination challenge, there's a bunch of chefs coming in from Canada, including our favorite hottie, David Silber.
Mm.
David Silber also posts very funny memes, and I steal a lot
Really?
of them. Oh yeah, he posts great memes.
I have to
Um,
follow him now. I don't think I even follow him.
Oh yeah, and he's got like a lot of them will be like extremely esoteric cooking stuff. So
Love
like
it.
some of them are like too in the weeds for me even, but
Uh-huh.
like he's great. He's very
I love
funny. And we have Dale and Nicole from Top Chef World All Stars, the two people
it.
that represented Canada on that show.
Hmm.
And they all represent different regions of Canada.
Hmm. Hmm.
Nicole represents the West, fish, etc.
Hmm.
Dale represents the prairies, including lentils. David Zilber is central, and he says like lots of ingredients that would go great on a grill.
Hmm.
Uh, Jeremy, whose last name I did
God,
not get.
fucking. Wait, is it Jeremy? Oh no, no, no. I was thinking of Prairie Guy. I fucking hate him. I always.
Dale. Okay, that's
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Dale.
I fucking
And
hate
then
him.
Jeremy is from the Atlantic, and he has seafood, and
Hmm.
that's like a part of the world I've never been to, which I really want to go to. Is like
Nova
Newfoundland, Prince
Scotia.
Edward Island. Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to go to that
Oh,
area so bad.
it's really awesome.
And are you caught up on Severance? Yes, right.
No,
Well,
sorry.
there's okay. This is not a
I have like
spoiler, but
one episode. Oh, you mean the episode where
they
uh
film where they're in this. They film this like one episode like out on like the coast of like that part of Canada.
yeah.
I looked it up and it's like completely snowy. It looks very cool.
Yeah, it's that was a
Um,
gorgeous episode too. We should take a road trip.
let's do it. I mean, can
Yeah.
you drive to those places? I guess some of them.
Yeah. Well, they have car
Ferry.
taxis too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I've like always wanted to go to Prince Edward Island since I was like, of course I did because Anna Green Gables.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
I've always wanted to go. Okay, so and then Sela Flaherty is from the north, like the
Hmm.
Arctic area, which is
Hmm.
wild to me, and she has like, all the Arctic foods.
Hmm.
Um, so the yellow team chooses first. They choose the central region. The purple chooses the prairie, red chooses western, blue chooses the north, and the green chooses Atlantic. And Kristen reveals it's an individual challenge. So from each team, one will be on the top and one will be on the bottom. So they're not
Hmm.
competing as a team.
Yeah.
They go to Whole Foods. Shuai says he needs to balance the ingredients with his Chinese cooking. So
Hmm.
he's gonna like be cooking Chinese style food over the season.
Queen's
Um,
native.
oh, I didn't catch that. Awesome.
I mean, I just looked it
Um,
up.
Okay, well, yeah, we gotta. Is he from Flushing? Oh, I mean,
I don't
well,
know. It just
maybe.
says Queens on the Wikipedia page.
Love it.
Yeah,
Kat is a private chef for Billy Corgan. That's gonna be a crazy job.
that is. He's so weird.
I know. And it's like, what can he? And she was like, this reminds me of going through the store looking for what Billy Corgan needs. And it's like, what kind of weird shit is Billy Corgan making you cook for him? She looks so much like this friend of mine whose name is also Kat,
Oh, that's funny.
who is a professional musician. And
Uh-huh.
like this cat, the cat from the show, Kat Turner, has like a very like music vibe, right? And like
Yes,
she's a
totally.
professional chef. So we were freaking out because they look so much alike. They have the same name and they're both like in music.
Yeah.
Um, they go back to the apartment. They have some wine. And Corwin and Vinny know each other from New York.
Hmm.
And and Kariana, who I'm really interested in, is Korean.
Hmm.
She's adopted and she met her Korean husband, and that's what made her dive into that part of her identity.
I
So she
love
like
that
I
story.
know. And it makes me think of our friend Edward Lee on
Yep.
Culinary Class Wars. Did you ever finish that show, Culinary Class Wars?
No, I started watching it and then John was like, "Why didn't you eat?"
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll
Okay.
finish
Well,
it. I'm like
yeah.
halfway through.
But like, so part of his journey is that like he was like, Korean but American, and like
Mhm.
part of his cooking journey is like how much of my cooking is American and how much is Korean. And on that show, he was like very cool. So
Yeah.
it reminds me of that. I love Korean food, can't wait. And then they go to cook. Paula is making a mole and she has an Ecuadorian flag in her hair. Kat is from Door County, Wisconsin, where they did the torch fish boil.
Hmm.
That was a great episode.
Most haunted
Funny,
place I've ever been to is Door
yeah. Well,
County.
that's what they say, right? It's
Yeah,
like known for that. Well, I mean, you told me, and then it's like a thing, right?
it's so creepy.
Caesar tells a story about camping with his dad. This was so funny. He would go camping with his dad. They would bring nothing but a pot and mirepoix, and if they don't catch any fish, they would just eat mirepoix soup. And again, it's like that thing we said with like Justin Warner and TOC, where he's like, "Oh, we're roughing it with this weird thing to cut your shrimp with," and it's like
Right.
we're roughing it. All we have is our mirepoix. What
Yeah.
a weird chef thing to say.
Yeah.
And Tristan is doing a curry like his family made when he was growing up.
Hmm.
Anya, oh, who we haven't talked about yet, but she's our Russian chef. She's like an
Yeah.
older woman. She's Russian. I mean, older for the show. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people are like in their 20s. She's definitely not. She's from Russia and she like didn't want to do Russian food originally because she thought like, oh, no one in the US would want Russian food, but they do.
Hmm.
And people from the US don't really eat with their politics that
Right.
much.
Yeah. No.
Though I do remember when the Ukrainian war started, you couldn't even get into Veselka because
Oh
everyone
yeah.
was like, I will support Ukraine in the one way I know how. I will
Yep.
go to
Yep.
Veselka. And it's like that money is not going to Ukraine at all.
Yeah.
It's going to a rich Ukrainian person in New York. Anyway,
Right. And
but
also with Palestinian food, I mean, unfortunately,
uh,
people have been
I know.
crazy.
Uh, um, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Uh, so Bailey is doing a carrot risotto, or as they say on Pot Chef, risotto no.
Yep.
Our friends, and it did not go well for her.
Nope.
And okay, so Bailey, I feel like is annoying.
Hmm.
But also I feel like I probably think that because she's probably like the most similar to me.
Yeah.
Um, she
I
would
get that.
definitely. But I feel like that in real life we'd probably be friends. When I'm Top Chef, I'm like, ugh, like don't do your risotto. Oh, and she says that she learned about risotto from Sarah from Top
Yeah.
Chef
Who I also
Texas.
fucking hate. So it's
I
like,
know. And we just watched that episode where she's
yeah.
so mean to Beverly, which is her bully. But yeah, and that's like a thing that people love to talk about. Well, Sarah on Top Chef Texas was the same way, was always talking about the famous chef she worked for, and Bailey is like immediately like, oh, well, did you know I work for Sarah?
Yeah. Ugh.
It's just a weird thing.
Yeah.
Um, Paula overseers her lamb. Mimi overboils her potatoes and forgets to cook her pork.
Hmm.
Um, the judges walk in, and I forgot how much I miss this about Top Chef is like the fashion they
Yes.
serve at these judges' tables. They
Yeah.
look so good.
Yeah.
Gail and Kristen are both wearing red, but Kristen is wearing a red shiny pinstripe blazer, and she does like the mask thing
Oh,
so good. She
so
looks
good.
so
She's
good
so
all the
hot.
time. I
I
know.
mean, it's so funny to me as like the Bravo versus Food Network kind of thing where the fashion on Bravo is like insane, like and it's the same people crossing over, and
Yeah,
yet like they're just so much
totally.
better dressed when they're
Well,
on
you know
Bravo.
where they do have good fashion though is on Bobby's Triple Threat. That's like
Yeah,
a
that's
show that
true.
they like I feel like a lot of shows they like don't want it to look like the chefs care about fashion or something,
Yeah.
but on Threat they're like, "Oh, we're at a chic lounge," you know? So
Right.
like Brooke looks high fashion on that show
Yeah.
always, and
Yeah.
Tiffany. Um, okay, so the West serves first. Um, Lana did seared salmon with mushrooms roasted in lamb, very similar to
Hmm.
what we just saw on
Hmm.
TOC. Nicole likes the texture, and David likes her restraint.
Hmm.
Vinny does confit salmon. Nicole thinks it's perfectly cooked. Tom says it's subtle and well done.
Ugh.
Pa- Paula does grilled lamb with mushroom mole. Nicole says it lacks spice. Kristen's lamb is under. Gail's is over. Tom looks pissed. That's
Hmm.
one thing about Tom was he gets so like he said that earlier. He's like, I'm not grumpy now, and now he's like, no, I am grumpy.
Yeah, like he takes it so personally when somebody like accidentally
I know they're
misses
doing this
something.
weird thing. It's not about you, Tom.
Right.
Kat forgets one piece of fish on one plate before plating.
Hmm.
Prairie served next. Kat does walleye with lentil flour and wild rice. Dale liked the rice. Gail thought the cherries were the best part, and
Hmm.
Tom's is missing a lot of components. It seems like they thought hers tasted really good,
Yeah.
but it just was bad plating because she didn't get everything on.
Right. She lucked
Henry,
out though.
yeah, she lucked out because it tasted a lot better than somebody else's.
Hmm.
Henry did ribeye tartare with lentil aioli, toasted lentil cracker, and Nicole says it was juicy. Dale likes the cracker, and Dale's says that Henry's was his favorite of the region.
Yeah, it
Corwin,
looked
yeah.
the best to me.
Yeah, I mean, I would love a toasted lentil cracker. It
Yeah.
sounded like a good idea. Corwin did grilled ribeye with red lentil puree and sour cherries. David said there's a good cook on the beef, and Tom says it's disjointed.
Hmm.
Uh, and Mimi is getting ready to serve and says her dish sucks. So at least she knows it. You know, at least
Yeah.
she's not like the guy with the hat last season, I think David was his name. He
Yeah.
thought he stood by everything he did, even though it sucked.
Right.
So at least Mimi, that like makes me think Mimi's probably a better chef than she came off because like she understood what she did wrong
Yeah.
instantly.
But
Um,
also she should have at that point been like, maybe I shouldn't serve it because
yeah.
if it was going to taste bad, that gives the
But is
judges already.
every element was gonna taste
Yeah,
bad.
that's
So
true.
So Central is next. Caesar did a corn butter poached trout. David
Mm.
liked the flavors. Jeremy liked the balance. Tom says great bite. Mimi does potato puree with lightly brined pork. David said it was a poor attempt and something went wrong. Kristen said something clearly went wrong, and Tom says it makes him grumpy. Do
It
not
did look
activate
like just like
Tom's.
beige,
Yeah,
barfy.
it did
Yeah.
not look good. Katiana did pork loin katsu with kimchi of peaches, delicious.
Hmm.
And Nicole says she's excited by a pork cutlet, and Kristen liked the gravy. And then next is the Atlantic region. Tristan did poached cod with dulce mousse. He did
Hmm.
not get the curry on, but they loved it anyway. I was nervous because okay, so Tristan is doing like, kind of like Caribbean flavors, right?
Yeah.
And you know that for Tom, that's a little bit too much flavor.
Yep.
So I was worried about Tristan. Whenever we see like a Caribbean chef, usually besides Gregory, the judges get like so overwhelmed by too much flavor, you know?
Yeah.
And I was worried about it because I want to see Tristan more.
Yeah.
But so it's probably good for Tom. He left off the
Yeah.
curry.
Yeah.
Uh,
But it looked like I mean, it's really, that's a good sign for a dish if it tastes just as good without
yes.
a
I mean,
sauce.
it looked very good.
Yeah.
And Shuai does steamed crab and egg drop sauce with
Hmm.
daikon. Jeremy says the cod is beautifully cooked. And Massino does cod anaclise, smoked dulce. Sorry for butchering the pronunciation. He's talking in French. And the cod was cooked perfectly, but everyone did great. So the North is last. Anya does Arctic char and potato beet caviar. Gail loves the connection because yeah, Anya was saying that like she could see Russia from her house, in
Hmm.
the in Canada. Sorry, the opposite. She could see Canada from Russia or whatever. But she
Yeah.
said like you had like like the same vibe.
Yeah.
Um, and Zubair does Mean Moli with turbo. And Nicole said like the ratios were off, but Tom says it's interesting.
Yeah.
And Bailey does her carrot risotto with cured fish. Gail says it's not the worst risotto, but not a good risotto. So Bailey also got lucky to skate by.
Yeah.
The chefs go into a stew room and it's fancy. The judges table, Tom says it was a good start. And the top are Vinny, Anya, Caesar, Shuai, and Henry. And David announces the winner, and it was Vinny, and now he has immunity next elimination challenge.
Annoying.
So, Vinny. So you said you like him.
I like him, but in the same, like now I like him towards the end of the episode. He was like more charming and less
Yes.
annoying. I have a feeling it's going to be the same for every team challenge with him.
Uh-huh.
And also, I am worried about white guy syndrome. So,
Yeah, about Tom's white guy bias and everything.
yeah.
Um, so Mimi, Paula, Kat, Mimi, Massimo, and Bailey were on the bottom. But they only are thinking about Mimi and Kat as the
Hmm.
real bottoms.
Hmm.
And then they don't even discuss. They don't even say anything to them. They just tell Mimi she's gone and she's going to Last Chance Kitchen.
Yeah.
And then there's a preview for the whole season, which I love.
Hmm.
Always love to see that. The preview shows Poutine, Niagara Falls, and Gail saying the Top Chef kitchen is not the place to work out your baggage, which is a weird thing to
Actually,
say.
yeah. All right, Zionist. Let's.
I know. I was trying to forget that about Gail. Because it's like we have to live with her, I don't
Yeah.
forgive her, but I mean, hopefully she's been less hateful lately. I don't know. So if anyone's listening here, we are extreme left if you're new here for Top
Yeah.
Chef.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome. We love all people.
Yeah,
So did you watch Last Chance Kitchen?
I did.
Yes. So I was shocked that there was a Last Chance Kitchen, of
Yeah.
course, because I said, how could they do it with only one person?
Right.
But there's new people coming in, of course.
Hmm.
Sam from Vancouver and Ying from
Hmm.
Whistler.
Hmm.
And Sam is like obviously the Sue
Hmm.
of this season where they want Sam to make it in,
Yeah.
obviously. And then Ying played herself real bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt bad for Ying because
Yeah.
she, took off work and then she did not do a good job.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, they have to do the same thing, right? It's all grab an ingredient, then they have to cook with all three ingredients. So it's mushroom, squash, and eggplant. And Ying just does not use the squash and eggplant at all. Uh, and Mimi does a squash shoot with eggplant croutons. And Sam does squash with berry.
Hmm.
Sam wins, Ying goes home, and Mimi stays to fight another day. But Mimi acts like she like did something. Like Mimi's like, I'm I'm 1 for 1 with quick fires and 1 for 1 Last Chance Kitchen. But it's like, no, like you just weren't the worst in Last Chance Kitchen.
Right. Right.
You didn't do a very good job.
Yeah.
And I just feel like she's got a little bit too much bravado. That's how I feel about
Yeah.
her.
Yeah. Like the over like especially with the spelling of chef with the sh, like it's very clear that she's just like a little
Yeah.
insecure.
Totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for the season. I'm
Hmm.
excited for it to be easier to talk about as things get pared down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's so much with so many people.
Yeah.
It's so many ingredients in the Top Chef kitchen. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to see. I would love to see someone cool win. And so
Hmm.
far, I don't hate anybody. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't hate anyone with a capital H. Vinny is
Uh
sus, but well,
Yeah, I mean, we'll see about him.
yeah,
And I'm not going to even assume that he's a extreme front runner yet
right.
because I don't want to put
But
that assumption on him.
he's such a Tom chef, you
I
know?
know. Exactly. He really is. Tom just like, gets a real hard on just looking at him. Just like,
Yep.
oh, look at this
Yep.
guy. He puts soup in an apple. I love him so much.
Right.
That's how Tom is.
Yep.
Okay, so that is our mini episode of
Hmm.
Top Chef, and we'll be back next week with more TOC and Top Chef.
Yep.
Debbie, would you want to tell us what you had for dinner tonight?
Yeah, I made a spaghetti with like a labna parmesan cheese
Wow,
sauce.
Karen Akunowitz.
Yeah. Well, I had labna that was about to go bad, so I was like, "Oh shit, I gotta do something with it." And if I want to get the kids to eat anything, I put it in pasta.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah.
Delicious.
How about you?
Uh, I made corned beef and cabbage, which I was excited about. Yesterday, we went to the
Nice.
grocery store and we were like, is there going to be any corned beefs left? And there was a
Uh-huh.
ton. So I
Wow.
got one and I work from home today. So I was able to, cook it all day.
Nice.
It was delicious. Yeah, Sheena only wanted to eat the carrots, but she
Hmm.
liked the carrots,
Great.
the soft carrots from,
Hmm.
from the water, from the corned beef water.
I'll never forget there was one year that my friends and I at the time it was like 2007, I think. We tried to make vegetarian or vegan corned beef and cabbage. Like it was basically just like all cabbage, basically.
Uh-huh.
And the rest of the night, like everybody was just farting like
Oh my
so much.
God.
And I'll never, and so like I don't think I've had corned beef and cabbage since then because it's like this memory of just farts.
Well, it is very, I feel like it is a gassy dish just
Yeah.
naturally, but
Yeah.
I think it's delicious. So,
I mean, I'll eat corned beef. That's like one of my favorite deli meats.
yes, me too. I've always preferred corned beef over pastrami
Yeah,
personally. I know that's
same.
controversial. Okay, so everyone, thank you so much for listening. Please give us a rating or review and a review on Apple Pods. Send
Hmm.
Debbie hate mail,
Yes, please.
please, at Wayne's Basement on
Yeah.
Instagram. Send her hate mail. You can give us some cash at buymeacoffee.com if you want to
Oh,
help.
shout out to the
Oh,
our friend
yeah.
who,
Sorry, let me take a look.
yeah.
Let me take a look quick for the name. This was awesome because it was not Debbie's husband or someone like that. It was a real person who listens to the podcast, and it was very exciting. Sorry. I should have looked this up
It's okay.
before.
Leave cut out the silence. Sorry.
Um, you know what?
Wait, hold on. Let me look in the
It's probably in our text. Oh, it's in our text. Okay.
yeah.
Summer Garcia just gave us some money on Buy Me a Coffee. We really appreciate it. It paid for like our month of hosting on
Yeah.
our hosting platform. So that really means a lot because, obviously we don't make any money from this podcast. We do it out of love
Hmm.
and we do it at a great financial loss to
Yeah.
ourselves.
Summer, send us a message. We'd love to hear. anybody who doesn't know us personally, like we want to know how you found us.
And
So,
here's what Summer said. You all are so much fun to listen to, and I love the friendship vibes. Thanks for being one of my favorite
ah,
podcasts.
we love you too. Be friends with us. Add us
Yeah,
on things.
we heard it here from Summer Garcia. So
Hmm.
yeah, so buy me coffee. All that info can be found in the link tree on our Instagram.
Hmm.
And yeah, we love you. We can't wait to watch Top Chef with you. And for now, it is time for us to pack our
Pack our knives
knives
and
and
go.
go.
Good night.
Good night.